Yo, what it is, fight fans? Welcome to another edition of the GYGB War Report Show. I'm your host, Roberto Flack. I believe ROD might be joining us, but it might be a dolo show tonight, man. It's the holiday season, man. Everybody's running around, getting things done. We're wrapping up the year, man. We're already hitting, like I said, Christmas season, holiday season, what have you, and which signals the end of the year. And we're really only 2 weeks away from the official finale of the 2018 boxing calendar. So we got, obviously, the discussion at hand today, Canelo's debut on the zone against Rocky Fielding. And then next week we have the debut, well, not even debut, but I guess the debut of the official solidified deal with Fox and the PBC, as both Charlo brothers are going to be fighting on Fox. So we got boxing back on network TV, and that's pretty much the year in boxing, man. So, but we gotta obviously talk about the fight last weekend. Vasily Lomachenko, Jorge Pedraza. This was the second week of week after week having this big December we're having in boxing. And we're still talking about Wilder Fury, and now Joshua is starting to chime in a little bit, which I'll kind of get to at the very end of the show. But, we had another unification fight, and I think in 2018 we've seen, I mean, I can't even go on record as far as counting, but I want to say we've had over like 6 unification fights in different divisions. And, we got yet another one with what many consider the pound-for-pound number 1. I have him at number 2, Vasily Lomachenko and Jorge Pedraza. And it was for the WBA and WBO lightweight titles. And once again, Vasily Lomachenko comes up the victor. But, there was question marks coming out of that fight as it relates to, I guess, some people, I guess, having some criticism as it relates to, what many thought was supposed to be a whitewash of Jorge Pedraza by Vasily Lomachenko, which really didn't turn out to be. Vasily Lomachenko was the dominant guy in the dominant fighter throughout the course of the fight. I think Jorge Pedraza, didn't come to lay down for Vasily Lomachenko. And, going in, naturally, people are thinking, well, Tank Davis, stopped Pedraza early. So, what's Lomachenko going to do? So that's the narrative coming out of that fight from what I'm seeing online and through different, publications and fans alike, where, is Lomachenko kind of slowing down now? And, they're doing the triangle theory, which, again, man, we've had this discussion many, many times as it relates to the triangle theory. You got to be careful, okay? Tank Davis stopping Jorge Pedraza in the 4th round or whenever he stopped him, and Vasily Lomachenko going the distance with him doesn't, A plus B doesn't equal C. It doesn't work like that in boxing. They still have to get in the ring, and styles make fights. So Vasily Lomachenko, again, he's coming off of surgery, and the question mark is, was he mentally not trying to was the shoulder either affecting him, or was his mind affecting him as far as him not throwing it as much? Look, at the end of the day, man, if you're in the ring, it is what it is. You can't, all the injuries and things of such, at least in the sense of people making that excuse. He chose to fight. Jorge Pedraza, to me, I think just put up a better fight than people expected. He looked bigger at lightweight. Didn't look like, like he was bloated, and, but at this point, man, I mean, look, I don't think people should look at this fight and say Vasily Lomachenko is like digressing. He wants the Mikey Garcia fight. That fight's not going to happen. So, we'll see what happens. They're saying he's coming back in April. They'll be back on ESPN. So it's going to be interesting to see how his 2019 looks, because they're talking about Adam Carolla and who's the other guy they're talking about? Richard Kami. And I mean, they're unification fights, but again, he's missing that star level fight, you know, and the Mikey Garcia would be that. That fight would be that, but Mikey's got his hands full with Errol Spence, which we'll get to, you know, in the near future. That's still, you know, some time away. But yeah, so we'll see what's up with Vasily Lomachenko as far as who he fights. I'm thinking if it's not a unification fight, it's probably going to be a mandatory defense because that's just where he's at this point with what Top Rank has available. So we'll kind of see what happens. So beyond that, look, this weekend, you know, I'll jump right into it. The debut of Canelo Alvarez on DAZN. So this is, again, man, you know, we got the news a couple months ago that first that Canelo was fighting in December. And we were thinking, you know, is HBO going to like put on a pay-per-view in their last, or they're going to put, you know, a Canelo Alvarez fight as their last fight with the limited budget that they had. Then there was ESPN. Out of nowhere comes DAZN, and we're thinking, oh, for one fight, it's like $365 million potentially, and I say potentially because he still has to fight these fights. And this is the first go-around. You know, this is the debut, Madison Square Garden, against a fighter that a lot of us either haven't heard of or have seldom seen fight. And, you know, when we dig back to Rocky Fielding, who's, you know, Canelo's opponent, you know, well, backtracking, you know, when we found out he was fighting Rocky Fielding, that struck us as like, you know, we didn't know who he was, but the fact that the fight was at super middleweight, we were like, whoa, pump the brakes, man. Like, he's going up another division. And, you know, now you start to think like, all right, man, is this going to be his situation where he's kind of teeter-tottering between weight classes? Wouldn't be the first time. His biggest, the big fights are really still at middleweight, particularly, you know, because DAZN is there, you know. So, look, here's the thing, man. Canelo Alvarez at this point is the controlling factor. You know what I'm saying? This whole Rocky Fielding thing, I think is just the DAZN's introduction to, you know, for, you know, rolling out the red carpet for Canelo. I don't know what the deal is as it relates to the subscriptions. I don't know how many subscriptions people have like now jumped on. I personally have DAZN. The crew, I don't know if ROD has jumped on yet. Coltrane, I know hasn't, but I'm invested, you know, at this point. You know, I don't know what the totality is as it relates to when they made that announcement, to how many people have now jumped on DAZN. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, if you guys watch the NFL, or even if you watch just terrestrial television, there's been a lot of ads for DAZN, man. You know, with it's like a series of commercials with Michael Buffer and Canelo. And he's clearly the flagship guy for the United States. And, you know, Anthony Joshua, again, he's on DAZN too. But Canelo has been, the United States is his home in the sense of being the boxing superstar. So I think it's really, at this point, a trial and error type of thing. Because none of us know from now till next year how their subscriptions are going to go. It's all dependent on the matchups. Now, look, looming around is still Triple G, okay? And we don't know if where he's gonna go. A lot of us think it's DAZN, but yo, man, like he could throw us a curveball and say, yo, I want to fight on Fox, you know? Like, I mean, again, but against who? But I mean, naturally, there's people there, but most people would think he'd want the third Canelo fight, but he's been adamant about saying like, I got screwed over twice, so why am I going to go about it a third time? But, you know, a lot of us think that's kind of because money's money, man. You know, you're not going to turn out a big payday to make less money fighting, you know, whether it's Charlo or Hurd or one of these guys, you know, if he goes over to Fox. The only fight, and again, it's not going to happen, that would be the most lucrative if he went with Al Heyman, is fighting Floyd. But, you know, that's not going to happen. So he's probably going to land on DAZN. I mean, we'll see. Maybe he shows up in, you know, New York tomorrow. I don't know. But look, as far as Canelo and Rocky Fielding is concerned, the actual fight, okay? Now, Rocky Fielding is dramatically taller than Canelo Alvarez, but height doesn't win fights. And we all know this. And part of the caveat to this fight too is the fact that it is another division that Canelo's going up to 100, a full 168, and he's looking really trim at 168, man. I gotta say, he's not looking like bloated or anything like that, man. So it starts to make me wonder, like, how are you gonna start to make 160 now? Let's just potentially say your next fight. So, look, I honestly think this is a showcase fight. Rocky Fielding was knocked out by the real WBA super middleweight champion, which is Callum Smith, who, funny enough, his brother fought Canelo Alvarez. And that fight, I will say, would be stylistically would be a bit dangerous for not only Canelo, but for Triple G as well. I don't know if they're going to tackle that. So he's fighting for a secondary WBA belt. We know how this whole thing goes. None of us are looking at this as a world title fight. Just like I'm not looking at Pacquiao-Broner as a world title fight. We know that that's a bunch of BS. So I think, I think collectively, the whole crew, we all see Canelo stopping Rocky Fielding. Now, look, here's one thing. Canelo does have that fresh wound over his eye. If Rocky Fielding is able to open it up, but again, it's and now I don't want to say wishful thinking because it's like none of us have a horse in this race, but I think this fight is made for Canelo to look good. I'm sure he's gonna look really good in this fight, man, and I think he's gonna stop Rocky Fielding like sometime between the 7th and 8th round. And I think part of the reason why they might have been doing this fight in New York is because I feel maybe not, but I think Danny Jacobs could be this next fight, okay? And the fact that they're fighting in Madison Square Garden now, and Danny's gonna be at that fight, he could walk in the ring and not cause like a stir or anything, but just challenge Canelo. And people in New York, obviously New York, but people would come out for that fight. If they don't get Canelo Triple G3, which again, the whole screenshot that you guys saw online about the reservation at the T-Mobile, like, don't pay any mind to that, okay? I feel Danny Jacobs is going to be the next fight. That fight makes way more sense in New York than it does in Las Vegas. And look, I don't know what the ticket sales are for this fight, but I think that a Canelo Danny Jacobs fight in New York City would gain a lot of exposure, and people would naturally come see that fight. And being that it's not on pay-per-view now, and it's like that could be a situation where people are like, damn, you know what? I might have paid $50-$60 to see this on pay-per-view, and if I got to just pay $10 to watch that an elite level fight, that might be where DAZN is going. And I think we're gonna get that Triple G3 fight, the Canelo Triple G3 fight in September, because Cinco de Mayo weekend, guys. Okay, we talked about it with the crew. After January 19th, chances are the circus is gonna come back in town, and you already know what fight we're talking about. Okay, and I don't even need to mention the two names. So I think an April fight or even a June fight might be Canelo and Danny Jacobs, and I think in September they're gonna revisit Canelo Triple G3. So we'll see. But we all collectively got Canelo Alvarez stopping Rocky Fielding. Tevin Farmer, I believe, yeah, he's on the undercard. Oh, also too, Gilberto Ramirez is fighting this weekend. And I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter, Bob Arum is saying that the best fight this weekend is Gilberto Ramirez and Jesse Hart. The rematch for Ramirez's WBO super middleweight title, not on ESPN, but on the ESPN Plus app. So go figure, right? So yeah, that takes place this weekend if you guys have the ESPN Plus app. But the card in total, we have David Lemieux, Turiano Johnson, Saddam Ali, and Mauricio Herrera, and Tevin Farmer, Francisco Fonseca. I don't know if that's going to be. I think that's starting the card because Katie Taylor's on there as well. The card isn't like bad, and then your man Ryan Garcia is going to be fighting. He's like early in the undercard. And that's pretty much it. Now the thing with the Zone is their undercards, they start early, man. Like they show you from the very beginning to the very end. So it's not like when you order a pay-per-view and you're just watching like the first 4 fights. So, for the fight fiends that are going to make a day out of it, I believe the card will start at I want to say maybe even 5:30, guys. I mean, if you guys got the DAZN app, just go on to the, it'll tell you what time. I want to say 5:30 when the full card, or when the first fight on the card begins, because there's about like 10 fights in total, But, that's this weekend. 30-day free trial. Give it a try, man. I mean, I have it. It's all right, man. I mean, they're going to be doing more. It's kind of like with the WWE app when that first came out. There wasn't a lot. I mean, there was some stuff, but from its inception to now, like it's increased dramatically, man. So I'm pretty sure DAZN's going to go down that road. But yeah, that's this weekend. I'm trying to think of something else that I wanted to touch on. I mean, as far as DAZN is concerned, man. Look, I think, like I said before, I think a lot of their future is going to be determined on the matchups and the fighters that they acquire. Because look, they already got Anthony Joshua and Canelo Alvarez. I mean, economically, they have the 2 biggest money makers in boxing. Like when you peel back the onion, that's what they have. But again, boxing has and will always be predicated on the matchups. And if they can't get good enough fights with the guys that they have there, they're gonna have a tough time landing subscribers, man. And that's still the tricky part as it relates to where DAZN is gonna head. Now again, like I'm just talking about boxing. Now in the near future, apparently they're gonna start to target like getting licensing fees and things as such with like Major League Baseball and with the NBA and with the NFL and things that matter. So, we'll see, man. This is just where things are going, guys. I mean, even beyond DAZN, I could tell you there's going to be somebody else coming after DAZN. It just is what it is. The other companies are going to jump on board, or even the networks that are currently in existence, they may get into this realm. And look, even Showtime has their own subscription base beyond having cable, but the fact that I think their potential nail in the coffin could be the fact that Fox has a deal with the PBC too, man. And that 2019, man, is gonna be very interesting as far as that little paradigm that they have. So, but yeah, man, look, this is gonna be a short show. We're kind of wrapping up the year. Next week, again, the Charlos debut on Fox. Well, part of their, the debut of the Fox relationship with the PBC or their deal, and we'll see how how that plays out. They've been doing a lot of promo on NFL on Fox NFL on Fox and some other really there, but they've been doing that as well as the Mikey and the Spence hype and things as such, man. So Fox is invested, man. They're rolling out the red carpet for these guys. So boxing back on network TV. So that's pretty much it, man. I just we wasn't gonna be covering too much today. The crew couldn't make it, but again, we'll be back next week. Really, 2 shows left, man. We're gonna talk about next week's the Fox, the PBC on Fox, and then we're gonna do a year-end wrap-up, and that'll be 2018, man. I can't believe this year is already wrapping up, man. It's wild, man. And a video I did on the Facebook page, man, and we're gonna kind of touch on, for the next episode or for the last episode is, what's gonna be 2019's biggest fight, man. Yo, as crazy as it sounds, man, Canelo Triple G3 might be the biggest fight, or one of, if not one or two, depending if Wilder, Joshua, and Fury somehow all intertwines, and we get a fight out of those guys. Well, at least Joshua fighting one of those guys. So, but we'll see, man. That's next year. So that's pretty much it, man. We're gonna wrap up now, man. Appreciate all the follows. hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications. Anytime we got our shows, you'll be notified right away, man. Appreciate all the follows on Facebook, facebook.com/GYGBoxing, Instagram @GuardYourGrillBoxing. So we'll be back next week. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.